It's through those small disciplines of growth that we achieve great things. It's not by a dramatic demonstration of our skill. It's by living our truth on a daily basis is how we grow to first love and accept ourselves, and then be big enough to accept someone else into our life.
Welcome back to Inspire Change with Jordan Mulligan. Today's episode is with Shelley Rogers, AKA A Good Witch. She has amassed millions of followers on social media and helped change people's lives through telling her own stories and experiences with alcoholism, battling mental health, and turning that all around to develop her business, help people through therapy, and also share her message that is changing your guys' lives. This conversation really did go into depth, and I cannot thank Shelley enough, to the point where I am actually flying to Shelley tomorrow. I'm flying out there all the way to LA for a one-day shoot and flying home because I want to get this documentary perfect for you guys. So if that sounds something you're interested in as well, please head over to the main channel, Mulliganbrothers.com, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hit notification bell and subscribe on this channel. Only, I think it's 10% of people are subscribed right now. Let's get everybody subscribed, everybody hitting that notification bell so you can be notified when new videos are coming up. We always want feedback, so join in the community. If you want to help support us further as well, go to Mulliganbrothers.com where you can get ready for 2024 with the Momentum Ori posters, the journals, and the t-shirts as well. But before that, take out a pen, take out some paper, sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing conversation with a good witch, Shelley Rogers. Let's dive into it. For those who don't know, just introduce yourself and what you do.
I'm a good witch. And I spread the word that this is a kind universe and the only thing real in it is love and loving relationships. That's my life theme, I think.
How would you describe your childhood and where you grew up?
I'm blessed. I was absolutely blessed with a mother who'd wanted kids all of her life and couldn't have them. And every day I woke up, she was so glad to see me. And I had a father that, just loved me unconditionally. I had a great place to grow from. And Dad got sick real early when I was about 3, and he thought the most important thing was my mom being educated. So I grew up with my mother going to school, which was one of the best things ever. My mother knew who she was and knew what she was here for, and she was a bilingual, bicultural educator in El Monte, which is a mixed race neighborhood in East LA. And she loved teaching. She loved every day. She loved being involved with their kids, and she taught me how to be excited about life. And my father was that workhorse that just kept working and working, but he built neurotaxic equipment, the brain surgery equipment that they were developing at UCLA. He worked with the neurotaxic team and took his machining down to an art level. And so I had these two examples showing me how to live the best life, and they were dearly in love with each other. That's my early childhood. It was great.
That sounds amazing. To keep it as brief, to keep it kind of brief, what is the journey from there to becoming a witch? Was there moments in between, or?
There's a lot of moments in between because, just as you learn to identify who you are in relationship to your mother, who you are in relationship to your father, you learn who you are that goes out into the world and how do you contribute. And so that whole journey is saying, well, I'm like mom in this way, but I'm not like her in this way. And I'm like my dad in this way, but I can do it better. You know, that's that whole ego building. And that journey was me being a therapist. I was blessed with the opportunity as an occupational therapist to work with people who were in the most frightening stage of their life, you know, where they've had 2 days ago a stroke, or they've broken their back and they can't get out of bed, or their life has changed and they've got to buckle up and live it. And so I was going in like this little girl saying, come on, let's get up and get dressed. And they're going, and I said to myself, if I'm asking them to do something so frightening, I have to face my fears too. And so I got to watch people heal themselves through their intentions. And I got to grow by setting my intentions and being the best that I can be. If I've got to take people down this path, then I better be pretty sure-footed. So I learned to scuba dive. I was afraid to put my feet on the bottom of the ocean, because I grew up at the beach where if you touched the ocean floor, you got stingrays. So, of course, I had to go learn how to scuba dive. And it was the most wonderful experience of my life. After my first dive, I dove every weekend for years. I moved on a sailboat. So something that frightened me and limited me also gave me a whole new life by just facing the fear every day, a little bit at a time. And it also gave me the courage to go in and say, come on, get up, you can do it. There's nothing that can stop you if your intention is there. You know, and you need that kind of attitude to get people in desperation to do what they don't want to do. So there's the in-between part. I figured out, because I can get people to do what they don't want to do, I'm a witch.
You know, when you had the realization that those things that scared you, when you face them head on, that it gives you that powerful, that feeling of like, wow, I can overcome anything. Do you remember that first? Obviously, the scuba diving was the first time, but do you remember the feelings it gave you after that?
Well, every day I get those feelings, because every day I set those goals for myself, and I do it in the morning when I wake up, and I give myself a pat on the back when I go to bed, and I journal all day long. I keep my journals out here with me because I keep notes of my Attagirls, which you're doing a good job, which you're doing a good job. And I keep notes for reflection and refining. No shame, no guilt, just what I did and how I can do better. And what are the things that I want to share with people.
Was there a moment, like a pivotal moment, where you had this self-awareness to work on yourself in that way?
When I got sober. I got sober 40 years ago, and I wasn't happy. And I was standing at the altar to get married, and I wasn't happy. And I said, there's something wrong here. And going on that journey, I'd say it was just growing up. But I also had a problem with alcohol, that it poisons my body and it makes me think crazy. So I haven't had a drink in 40 years and I feel so blessed. I smoke, but pot doesn't affect me the same way as alcohol does. It's a whole different... smoking allows me to relax, enjoy, learn, and grow. Alcohol made me slam my head against the same wall over and over again. And when I quit drinking, I got a chance to grow again. And that's when I moved on the sailboat. That's when I met my husband. That was 40 years ago, and I've had 2 kids and a wonderful life since.
Just on the point of alcohol, like our family on my dad's side, everybody. My grandma passed away through alcoholism. My granddad did. My uncle did. My dad got clean. It's, you know.
We're Mormon. That's their whole thing. That's why they don't let anybody drink. Because genetically, it just affects us negatively. I came home from my honeymoon, a 2-week honeymoon, and ended up in the hospital with idiopathic pancreatitis, which means those idiots didn't know the pathology, but I did. And I had to grow up from there, you know, and so much of my life was shaped by Alcoholics Anonymous, because my aunt died of 50 years of sobriety at the age of 80. So she had the same course with alcohol as I did. And I hope I get another 10 years, you know? But she taught me how to live with character. Each day that you don't drink is a day that you've won. You're doing a good job. And it's through those small disciplines of growth that we achieve great things. It's not by a dramatic demonstration of our skill. It's by living our truth on a daily basis is how we grow to first love and accept ourselves, and then be big enough to accept someone else into our life, and then to be big enough to serve the community instead of just ourselves.
From the moment you got sober to the point of where you felt like you had a good self-awareness, you felt like you loved yourself, and you know you felt more stable, the time in between that, was that healing process, did that just kind of happen naturally? Did you have to focus on recovering from alcohol?
No. I was doing urban assaults. I was having so much fun. I had nobody tying me down. I was living on a sailboat, scuba diving every weekend. I took myself on the best dates ever. That's how I met my husband, doing exactly what I wanted to do, living the best life I wanted to live, and living my passions. I met my husband in a Nigerian bar, listening to Nigerian drum music, and he couldn't stop watching me because I couldn't stop dancing. And he was drinking over at the bar and left his drink to come sit next to me and ordered another one. And I said, "You're either a serial killer or you're not an alcoholic." And that's how, you know, no alcoholic would leave a drink to come sit next to another woman, you know, and that was my first clue. He doesn't drink. He could care less about alcohol. We met in a bar, and we were the only two white people listening to Nigerian drum music. I was living my best life. There was, you know, it was like, soon as I understood that my happiness comes out of my relationship with myself and my self-respect, then I started understanding where my motivation was coming from and where my behavior was coming from, and what made me feel good about myself. And when I realized that I wasn't in control, you know, when I was trying to control everything around me and make everybody love me and dance as fast as I could, I wasn't happy. I was successful. I was self-supporting, running my own business, but I wasn't happy. And so when I let running the world up to God and working on the relationship with myself and being the best I can be, and I leave the rest up to God, that's where I find my happiness. And my happiness is with other people, is doing what I'm doing, is sharing these life experiences. I get great joy out of it. I get joy out of the comments in my feed when I'm rolling a joint and dropping wisdom on it. You know, it's so much fun to hear people go, aha, that'll stay with me. Because those are the building blocks that I've had through sobriety of building self-worth. And I do it every time I recreate myself. And I've had to recreate myself 3 and 4 times.
There's a moment I heard in your last interview that you did, or that I think it's the only interview you've done, and I heard it, and it was that when you got sober, it inspired your father to get sober as well.
Yes.
I love that, because like our mission is to inspire change, and I think we do it through action, like our actions and how we lead our lives. And I think when people can see that you've done it with action and not just words.
I was so honored. I took that honor with me. My father came and heard me speak at 5 years. And when I got a 5-year pin, and then he died. Yeah, I got pissed at my parents because they wanted grandkids, so I gave them grandkids and then they died. But that's the process that we're all part of. I grew up, it was time for them to go on, you know, and I carry them with me all of the time. And we are here to inspire change, but we have to demonstrate it. We inspire through demonstration. Like when I got cancer, I couldn't go back to work because I have lymphedema. If I overdo it, if I do stone with vibration, my arm swells up. So I had to change my life. I couldn't go back and run my practice. I was seeing 60 patients with 4 other therapists a day. I couldn't do that kind of work, but I could still be creative. And that creative energy gets me excited, and it propels me into the future. Because we can be afraid, we can be scared, and what's so important for people to understand is that fear and excitement feel the same. They're different vibrational levels, but our limbic system responds the same way. And so if you have a choice, if your brain is feeling, I don't know if I'm scared or excited, go with excited. It just propels you forward. You know, fear limits you. And so it's important to take fear into consideration, but every day just push it a little farther, because a lot of our fear reality is not reality. It's something somebody else has told us. It's something we've believed because of a repetition in our life cycle. You know, you do something over and over again, your mother tells you, oh, you're not good enough, and it's not coming out good enough, you begin to believe it. You know, I was fortunate. I was fortunate to have a mother that said I could do anything. So when I hear something that says, you can't do this, Shelley, I say, who's that? Where's that truth coming from? Because I know it's something I've picked up from somewhere. That's why I brought down my braid. Where's my kumihimo? I have a braid that I braid, and I make my mind involved with that braid, so I become the observer. And if my mind is doing that braid, who's the one that's talking over that? Because I can hear that. I'm the observer. So I braid to look at my thoughts. I braid to look at my thoughts and see where the weeds are so I can clean them out and let, you know, the bloom happen. And being mindful, being aware of how we talk to ourselves is so important. And I think it's important because I was given the gift. And so if I can see it, even being given the gift, if I can look at my thinking, that my judgments, if I can look at the way, you know, why is it important to me why somebody dresses a certain way? You know, if I can look at my opinions, why is it important for them to think the same way that I do? If I can look at my thoughts, I can create my world, And my world, I know, is glorious, you know? So to share that is the greatest inspiration. I do tarot readings, and I realized I do tarot from the perspective of a spiritualist with my spiritual mind treatment. I mean, I'm a spiritual mind practitioner. I make sure that my mind is focused in a spiritual direction. I make sure that on a daily basis I can create that feeling of excitement in bind with my thought, which propels me forward. And by doing a spiritual mind treatment, which is number one, recognizing that we are not God, recognizing that part of us is God, and then realizing that which we want to create, and feeling the feeling as if it's already created, and then saying, done my best, I'll leave that to you, God, now you take it on. And if I do that every day, then I create what I want. If I download, the news, or if I download my to-do list, or if I download what other people think I should be doing, how dare you talk about spiritualism and pot at the same time? If I thought about that, I wouldn't be creative. And for your information, I got your attention. Because I think that pot and spiritualism go hand in hand. So there's my brief perspective on how to create a beautiful life.
But I love that. You do. You create your own world. And it's funny you say the fear and excitement. I heard years and years ago, I used to be very nervous about doing these interviews. Mm-hmm. And I heard nervousness is just excitement. It's just the way you frame it.
Right.
And I started to tell myself I was excited, and it really worked. I think a lot of people I've told people this, and I think they think it's rubbish, but it really did work for me. I'm genuinely excited to do these interviews, and you can't for me, I can't distinguish the feeling. It's just how I frame it.
It is. It's our thinking affects our emotion, which affects our being. Thinking, emotion, and being. And if you realize that your thinking is just that, it's not you, it's just your thinking, you can change it. But if you think your thinking is you, then you're stuck in the cycle of recreating the same thing.
One thing I have to get context for, because I know we've mentioned the word witch a few times.
A woman in total control of herself.
That's enough for me. I wouldn't even go any further. That's perfect.
But it is. As there's a tarot card that is the witch. It's a practical woman who understands her feelings and is able to create a space of harmony and joy with herself and with other people in it.
The perception of the word witch, we're near Hollywood right now, like the idea of what a witch is, it has negative connotations.
That's why I'm a good witch. Because there's polarities to everything. There's good and bad, black and white, love and hate, fear, love, anxiety, excitement. We have to learn how to balance those feelings and have our thoughts manifest the feelings instead of being caught between the two polarities. It is. I really think most of the tarot cards are about balance, different skills and how to balance it and make it work. And where to find ourselves, have a relationship with ourselves so we can balance being involved out there in the outside world. Our quest is balance.
I love that. I'm going to jump onto the kindness. We live in a kind universe. I'd love to hear more on that.
Where did I get that from? I can tell you I got love and loving relationships from my grandmother, who was a Christian Science practitioner. The kind universe, it involves me because we're more than just this world. We're part of an entire creative energy that is bigger than Earth. It is universal. We're waves in a pool of an ocean. We're one of everything. And we contribute to that ocean. And so by putting that out there, by saying that's my moniker, by tattooing it on my thigh, that is what I'm wanting to create. And I know by just telling people that it's kind universe, you turn around and look for it. And if you're looking for kindness, that's what you're doing. You know, you're feeling it, you're thinking it, and you're doing it. And so, through my experience as an occupational therapist, as a recovering alcoholic, as an artist standing trying to sell her stuff on the street, as a good witch, all I know is that this is a kind universe. And if that's what you believe, that's what you get. I mean, look at this interview this morning. This is pure kindness pouring down on me because I get to share it with other people.
Oh, we're blessed. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, this is, and I woke up, I went to Aaron this morning and said, why am I nervous? He says, you're supposed to be nervous. and I made that flip. Oh boy, I get to share.
Amazing. No, honestly, we feel blessed to just be here in your presence and, you know, hear these amazing stories and messages. We spoke again briefly before this about 20 years ago, like you had like a reinvention of yourself. You went through chemotherapy.
Yeah, I had bilateral mastectomies, chemotherapy, and they took out all my lymph nodes. And during chemo, I got an infection in my trigeminal neuralgia, my ganglion up here. And it set shooting pains in my face. It went on for about 3 to 5 years, I can't remember. It was a drug haze. They gave me so much medication. And I went to the doctor and I said, how can I get off of this? All I'm doing is sleeping. And he patted me on the head and said, take your medicine, young lady. And I went home and said, how do you get off of OxyContin? And it said gradually, and pot helps. And Google saved my life. And after 17 years of complete sobriety, I started smoking a little bit and decreasing the meds. And as an occupational therapist, I knew that getting my attention outside of my body would help me heal. So I started sculpting figuratively. I started building stuff with my hands, and I started comparing my model to a live model, and it got me out of my head and out of my pain. And so the more I sculpted, the better I feel. And so I went back to school and got an Associate's of Arts in Studio Art. And then I found out that being a productive artist, you got to do stuff with what you produce. So I started setting up on the street and selling my wares, and I loved doing that. I really loved doing it. But the pandemic hit, and I fell in gym and broke both of my knees, and I couldn't do that anymore. So I got my art in a shop now, and during the pandemic, the government paid grants to shift from storefront sales to internet. And I learned new skills once again. I learned how to market myself, and I learned how to put good witch tips out there every day, and it just opened up a whole new world for me. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm sharing my joy.
If you're enjoying this episode with Shelley Rogers, aka A Good Witch, please consider supporting us at Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get the Memento Mori posters, the journals, the t-shirts, with the link in the description. And also, if you are not already, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified in the future. Let's dive back into the interview.
So this is the thing I want to ask is, so many people get wrapped up in comparison with other people and where you're supposed to be at the age of 30 or 40 or, to the idea at like the age of 30 to reinvent yourself and to start a new career path or find your passion. To some people is like, that was in my 20s I was supposed to find that. You're saying in your 50s, you completely reinvented yourself. Even, a few years ago, you've completely reinvented yourself again.
Yeah.
Is it like the concept of it being too late and I'm too old for change? Like, I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Ha! Ha! I used to porcelain paint. I'd paint on porcelain and then fire it. And everybody who does that is 70 or older. It's a real old-fashioned art form, but it taught me how to paint. Well, once I knew how to paint, I said, I'm not hanging around with this group of women anymore. I'm going to go belly dancing. And I started hanging around with a group of belly dancers out of Oxnard. Those women thought I was crazy, but they also wanted me to be the president of their society because my brain worked. Theirs was questionable. I said, excuse me, I'm out of here. And as an occupational therapist, I know that belly dance feeds your nervous system. It's an ancient way of staying young. So I went to belly dance and it opened up my whole life. I would never belly dance in public. I care too much about other people. But I belly dance in private all the time. We feed our nerves by the movement of our spine. And I was so blessed at age 30 to also wreck my knee. And they didn't know how to fix them 40 years ago. I had an anterior cruciate tear. They said, well, you'll be just fine if you work out 3 times a week for the rest of your life. I'm 70 and I still got guns. And it's given me a life. I show up at the gym every other day, 3 times a week. And I've been doing it for 40 years and I still have a great life. And I broke both of my knees couple of years ago. I got 2 new knee replacements, and on both of them I was back in the studio in 8 weeks, as soon as the doctor would let me do it. So it is our consistent habits, it's our attitude about ourselves, and it's what, it's the direction that we point our life. It's not it's not something you can buy. It's something you have to be.
I was going to say you've kind of encapsulated it there, but I see videos of you online like bouncing around, dancing in the garden, running around. What's the secret of staying young?
Play. We have to have a balance of work, rest, and play. We cannot... I work 4 days a week, and Fridays are reserved for sculpture, and I rest Saturday and Sunday. Now that changes all the time, but that's my consistent pattern, and that pays off over time. I always include play in my life. And my play is sculpture. That's how I define play. It's where everything that I do is for fun and free. I relax, I enjoy, and I learn and grow. It's where I'm relaxed and I'm enjoying myself. You can do it with role play, and I figured out how to role play every single day. And you can do it with music and dance and drumming, and you can do it with dolls. I taught my kids how to murder Barbie, and they grew up without those those society ideals. But having kids is the best way to learn to play. Watch how kids play. See how you can get that indwelling giggle that we all have. Where is it that erupts? Mine is uncontrollable. Other people have learned how to control it. It's just learn where that erupts and do it again and again and again.
What's your opinion on retirement? And I don't mean in the sense of like not having a job, but I mean in the sense of like, I'm going to kick back, I'm not going to have much of a, like basically retiring on a purpose.
I tried it. I didn't like it. I called retirement the pandemic. And so the idea of staying home every day with my husband with nothing for me to do is just, and I'm not a housekeeper. My mother and father made me scrub apartments as a child, and they promised me they'd send me to college if I cleaned those apartments with them every weekend. And I got in there and scrubbed, and I said, I am never doing this for a living. But I got through college because of that. You know, it's like, how do you make life a game? It's play. How do you make things you have to do something fun? I used to try and figure out what the test questions would be in class to see how I could be ready for whatever they threw at me. How do you make life a game? I keep score. And, you know, like one week I raise $181 to give away, and the next week I do 188. That's thrilling. And if I don't do as much, I say, what did I do different? How can I be better? You know, it's always self-assessment and reassessment without shame and guilt.
We have like a few different types of audiences that watch our videos, and some of them are like come for the spiritual side of things, which I think you'll connect with this conversation with that audience amazingly. But there's also another side that's like entrepreneurial businessmen and these people. I really feel like you've got a huge secret to them for their success as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, entrepreneurs, whether you have a client or not, you do it. I used to show up at the office whether I had a patient or not. And because I'm a therapist, there's always something I can do to improve my workload. You act as if. That acting as if empowers you, it builds you skills. Because if you act as if each day and you self-assess, you know what works and what doesn't work, and you keep going. The next day you employ those things that you realized yesterday. And you show up whether you have a contract or not, whether you have a patient or not, because you are that service or that business or that endeavor. I realized that artists produce. That was a wild concept, you know. I thought an artist was somebody who put a naked body part in their backyard. So I did that, but I hadn't made it yet. So I started producing a number of naked body parts to go in my backyard, you know. As a therapist, I got out of school and started my practice because I'm differently abled than other people. I can't write and spell. And back in 1976, there were no computers. You had to go into the hospital charts and write. They told me that I can't be a practicing therapist in a hospital because my grammar was so poor. I'm dyslexic. Give me a break. I said, I'll hire a secretary. So I went into private practice because I couldn't write in the chart, and I was fabulous at it because my brain is creative. My life is creative. I didn't let that stop me. It didn't stop me from getting through school. My mother typed my papers, you know? But I eventually was able, I can function, I can write, but I still have writers on my staff. And because I know I'm differently abled, I look at the world differently than other people do. I look at it in shape and form. Other people think of it in analysis and numbers and symbols. But I travel in a space that's beyond time. You know, it's like, shape and form takes you out of the time sequence. It's like I'll start sculpting, and time's up. And I go, where did 3 hours go?
You're speaking to me there, honestly. This weekend we spoke to another very successful person. He has dyslexia as well, and he's a very visual person. And I'm exactly the same. But everyone always says to me, "You have no concept of time, Jordan." And I really don't. It doesn't mean anything to me. The presence is where I'm at.
I have to find that balance.
Yeah,
that's why I have a schedule.
Yeah. How do you stick to a schedule?
Well, today's Monday.
Yeah.
Monday morning is my morning off. And so we were able to be flexible here. I always have a balance of work, rest, and play in my schedule. Aaron and I work on Tuesday, Thursday mornings usually. And I work out Tuesday, Thursday mornings, and Saturday mornings. So if I work 4 days a week, and I see clients from 1 until 4, and I do that consistently, Friday, I don't have to see anybody. I get to play all day.
I love that.
So it's just, managing your schedule, because it's one of those things. Your personal schedule we can control. Other people's schedule we can't control. We can try it, we can text them, we can message them, we can do our best, but when we can't, we have to leave it up to spirit and know they're not vibing at your same level, and choose other people to work with.
I love that. We spoke about editing negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Again, how can somebody edit negative thoughts, and why should they?
Editing negative thoughts is important because your thoughts are not your own. They're downloaded from someplace, and they're reinforced by emotional feelings, and then you project that out and you get the same thing back. You get you attract those negative thoughts, you reinvent those negative feelings, you put that out and you get more back. And if you can edit those negative thoughts and recreate that positive feeling, and it really takes practice. First off, you have to recognize that you have negative thoughts in your head. And I do that with kumihimo, braiding, thinking about it and not thinking about it. And if I'm doing something down here and there's negative thoughts going through my head, then what is it where is that coming from? What somebody else thinks of me. Where is that coming from? It's not coming from the braiding part. It's coming from a unconscious part of me. And because I understand that I'm whole, perfect, and complete as I am, that negative thought must be foreign. So you just edit it. You just say, thank you for sharing, and you go on. And I encourage people to walk 20 minutes a day. And if you're out in nature and you're in a beautiful space, what is your thinking doing? Are you thinking about yesterday or tomorrow? That's depression, that's anxiety. You're in a space right now where you should be in the moment. What is going on? And paying attention to where your thoughts are and trying to redirect them into the moment. That's that 20 minutes, because if your body is working in a rhythmic, reciprocal pattern, you're not thinking about making your body work. That's automatic. And if you've got automatic thinking going through, then you have a chance to observe that and change it. And so I always say 20 minutes a day, whether you want to or not. Or meditation helps, because you sit there and you're actually looking at what that thought is. You're closing your eyes, looking and quieting your mind, and then every little thought that comes back is a gift. Every one that comes across is a gift, because it tells you what's dominating your mind. And you say, thank you. And then, if those are thoughts that don't serve you, you just say thank you and you release it. And the other one is play. If you're engaged in play, or if you're engaged in that space where you're observing the world and you're involved with those form, shape comparisons, and you have a negative thought, where'd that come from? It's not constructive. So you just have to release it. And when I have a chance to program my mind, to program my thinking, I always tell people, brush your teeth and make your bed. So you have a place to go back to that's organized. And at night you sit and say, I did a good job here. I fell a little short on my goals here. I'm going to look at the way I do things tomorrow. When I wake up in the morning and my body tells me it's awake, I start saying, what are my goals and dreams for today? And how am I going to embody that which brings me joy each day? And if I didn't love my work, I wouldn't do it. And so I get to go out and do what fills me up every day. And that's the way I say, Witch, you're doing a good job. It's like, get out there and have fun.
How do we find kindness? Like, how would we go about finding kindness if someone was to ask?
Well, we have to be that which we want to see. We have to be in this universe the way we want the universe to be. So if you want kindness, you be kind. If you want love, you be love. And so that's my intention. This is a kind universe, and I intend on demonstrating that.
That was such a wonderful quote right there. Thank you for that. You say you've been married 40 years.
I've been married 35 years.
35 years?
Yeah.
What's the secret?
Respect. He will never be a reflection of me, and I will never be a reflection of him, but I love and respect who he is. And I don't have expectations of him fulfilling my needs. I love it when he gives me loving support, but I fulfill my needs. And I think the greatest thing about him is my love and respect. I know how he's going to behave. He loves my children as much or more than I do, and people always say, aren't they both of your children? And I go, well, yeah, but I'm a mama bear, And it's wonderful to know that there's another person on earth that loves and respects my children as I do. And I can always go to that.
I'm trying to fill these last 10 minutes with the punchiest moments, the punchiest quotes I've picked up on your page. One of them, which I thought was super interesting, was it was kind of linked, I think in the reel that you did, it was linked to smoking cannabis, but it was about living at a slower pace. And when you spoke about that, I wanted to know what you meant by that. Like, obviously we live in a fast world where our experience of LA is pretty crazy as well. If this feels faster paced to be out here, but like, what do you mean by living at a slow pace, and why does it serve you when you live at that slower pace?
Well, it's a balance between that fast pace of the world, and it's a balance between introspection, inner direction and outer direction. We have to be able to do that to survive, but we also have to be able to take care of ourselves and manage our lives so that we honor and respect ourselves. Personal self-acceptance is our life path. And if you're always working to please out there and not please in here, you get out of balance. And this is a process. This is a long-term, lifelong relationship. So we have to be able to balance between our inner and outer worlds. And getting in touch with our inner world is slowing down from the outer world. Is slowing down to the level where we can relax, enjoy, and learn and grow. If you're going at that pace out there, you're not relaxing and enjoying yourself.
You had a video about the feelings towards somebody else, and like how that's a reflection on yourself. I'm just curious, as like so many people I hear all the time, and I'm completely guilty of this as well, is when someone hurts me or inflicts me or maybe hurts somebody very close to me, of how to not harbour hatred thoughts to that person, or anger towards that person, and or not how to let go of those feelings.
You know, I've just gone through this, and what I had to do is I really had to work through what my feelings were, and I had to work through her perspective. And I had to understand her perspective. And no matter how hard I held on to my feelings of betrayal, it never brought me up until I let go of it. And then both of us rose. I realized that this world is greater than my hurt. That feeling kept me walled off from that relationship and that group and that whole social system that I found so rewarding before, but my hurt kept me away from it. Soon as I realized I'm on a spiritual path, I have to go back to my roots. I went back, and all of a sudden, it wasn't an issue anymore, and I can't say what it was because it involves my children and my family, and it's my perception. It wasn't reality. And I had to honor my hurt and my pain and say that I was justified in it. But what it did was keep me away from this spiritual community that kept growing. And I went back to it this week, and I learned that I am fine the way that I am, and I can still participate in that greater goodness, because what happened is just, you know, the only thing real in this world is love and loving relationships. All sad things fade away. And I learned that truth when my sadness faded away and I was personally healthy enough to go back to the spiritual community. And I can participate because my sadness faded. Love is there. Everybody recognized me. Everybody welcomed me back. It was my separation. Because all sad, and I'm 70, trust me, if my people are supposed to take anything away, all sad things fade away.
I'm going to ask you then to close off with a personal. Whilst I was out here, I met with a internet friend of mine, someone I met on, he's in this kind of space, and very wonderful guy. His mission is similar to ours and yours. And he said to me, if you want to be able to share your story, he wrote it so eloquently, this is me hatching it, like butchering it. He said, if you really want to share the lessons you've learned, Jordan, you need to heal your heart. And I asked you that last question because that's something I've struggled with myself, harboring hate for loads of different things, especially around my son. And I've tried to heal that a lot. And then we went to another, by chance, we went to the church. He introduced us to a pastor, and we met with him. We went to the church, not somewhere I would typically find myself. And we had sat down and have a conversation with him, and he was like, said a very similar thing. And he was like, you need to find somewhere. At the moment, I go to my son's graveside a lot, and I have a lot of pain there. And I kind of use that pain to help me, motivate me. And he was saying, it needs to come from a place of love for your son, not the sadness. Mm-hmm. So you need to find somewhere that represents love in that situation, and where you can be with your son in a loving way. The reason I say this is because we're surrounded by all this physical art, and like for me, that kind of stuff is I don't know, it feels right to me. We were talking about stones before this. Is there a practical thing I can get into that you would recommend me getting into, or direction I could take to sort of explore those kind of art forms, or maybe even advice on the healing itself?
But I think you're already doing it.
I'm trying.
You
yeah.
are. You are on the path. And what I've already seen your path. I've seen you carrying that stone. And every step that you take, you are acknowledging and respecting yourself. You are acknowledging your pain and working through it by carrying that stone. You are already on the path. You're envisioning how you can transform this pain into service for others by demonstrating your love and your grief at the same time. You're trying to emote in others the depth of your feeling by demonstrating this service to the love of your son. You're already there. You're already there.
Thank you, Shelley. I'm going to close it there. Thank you so much for that. This has been wonderful. You guys have done this last minute. So yeah, I'm so blessed that we could fit this in, but we definitely have to come back. I'd love to come back on a Friday and see your work if that was something.
Oh, that would be great.
That'd be amazing. Where can people go, and where would you direct people to go to right now to see your work and see what you do?
I had an old company called The Handworks. That was my artwork is stored archivally on this website called The Handworks. And the stuff that we're producing now, the sales stuff, is on agoodwitch.com.
Thank you so much to Shelley for inviting us round and having us there. It was such a wonderful experience. We didn't have much time together, but we struck it off so much so that I'm flying out there tomorrow to go do a documentary with Shelley for you guys. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please, please, please hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. If you haven't already, please, we're at 10%, I think, of our watchers are subscribed and hitting the notification bell. So please hit that. You'll be notified when the new videos come through. And it also means that you can join the community and let us know feedback, like, what do you like about the channel? What don't you like about the channel? Do you like that we upload the highlights on this channel? Should we upload them on another channel? Should we just do podcast episodes here? And so on and so forth. Guest suggestions, all this amazing stuff that we want from you guys, because at the end of the day, this is to serve you guys with inspiration and motivation and stories to try and help change your lives. So we need that feedback from you. So thank you so much. Join the community. And if you want to help support us, you can head over to mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get ready for 2024 with the journals, the Momentum Warrior posters, the hoodies, the t-shirts, all that kind of stuff is linked down below. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed and productive day, and I hope you're excited for 2024 because Mulligan Brothers has some big plans. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.